Okay, 2 times is a charm, or the second time's a charm, however that goes, but we're gonna try this again. Sorry we had technical difficulty with our Facebook Live, but for some reason we couldn't get the video to come on, so we're gonna do it this way. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Grahek, and I'm gonna talk to you today a little bit about the state of the industry, which is a wild topic for us in this day and age, and this year especially, due to the circumstances that our world's in right now. But anyway, just to get started, let me introduce myself. I'm John Grahek, and I'm the Director of Operations at Denison Industries. I was a former FEF student in my undergrad at the University of Northern Iowa. I got my first FEF scholarship when I was 19 years old. And I went to school, graduated in 1987, and through FEF I landed my first job through CIC and ended up in Georgia. During my time at the University of Northern Iowa, I was very active in the student chapter with FEF and AFS, and I was also heavy into internships in Oskaloosa, Iowa with Cloud Valve, who I eventually went back to work with, and also Dawson Foundry, which was a foundry that was in Waterloo, Iowa. So during my undergraduate years, I got as much experience as I could. Moved to Georgia, worked for a large iron foundry for 10 years, and then I moved back to Iowa in 1998 to work for Cloud. And again, that's who I interned with as a young student, and got my start in the industry and also with FEF. After Cloud, I just recently relocated to Denison Industries in Texas to take on a new challenge in the non-ferrous world of high precision aluminum castings, and I'm again Director of Operations here at Denison Industries. I'm a past president of FEF and a past board member of the American Foundry Society, and I have been active with the FEF board since, it's been 15 years, I guess, is the best way to put it. 2005 is when I actually became an active board member, but have been active with CIC and FEF really ever since I graduated. And that was one thing that was very important to me, is to stay in tune and appreciative to giving back to FEF for what they did for me. And again, I didn't get my start in the industry I wouldn't have if it wasn't for FEF. So that's something that's very heartfelt for me. So getting started to talk a little bit about the state of the industry, again, wow, what a year we got going on. And it's true for all manufacturing and for everybody in everyday life. And the biggest message that we can talk about is continue to stay positive and focused. With the COVID coming on, we've had challenges, and for the foundry industry, it hasn't been easy for anybody, whether you're having reduced order entry because the castings you're supplying to a particular assembly plant, for example, it has slowed down, or they've had to take days out, or you've had to go into furloughing people because of the demand and order entry slowed down, so then you don't have the capacity anymore to produce the castings that you need to. So we've had to look at our businesses from that point of view, and what is the right size and the right way to do our business during this period. And also just the reaction with the pandemic and what we had to do to protect our employees and make sure their safety and well-being is taken care of. And that we had to particularly shut down to test, or if other companies, other foundries have had to do that. So it's been an interruption, if you will, and kind of an upset. So it's been interesting. So when you talk about the state of the industry right now, it's different. It's not like it was before the pandemic hit, but before the pandemic hit, we still had a strong industry going, and foundries were running strong, and suppliers were able to get in the plants and support the manufacturing and metal casting industry. And that's been it was really good, at the start of the year, but when the pandemic actually started, then that changed things. It wasn't as easy to get into plants. Plants were going idle. So does that mean plants are shutting down or closing? Not necessarily. I think the businesses are just looking at what's the right thing to do to stay focused, to survive and control your controllable costs and look at, what kind of shifts you're going to work. And, with all that being said, I think it's very important that we understand that strong businesses, strong metal casting facilities are going to continue to support, to build their talent pool. And my message to you young folks out there is there is still huge opportunities for us and for you, and especially you as young professionals, and to stay positive and stay focused. Continue with your network and your networking. Your student chapters, being involved, once school and how those modified school years kind of play in this year, whether you're on campus or you're remote, continue to be active. One thing, with American Foundry Society, AFS, FEF, and your student chapters, hopefully you're able to still meet, communicate, and talk. And I know through FEF, we've done a lot of things to try to help that and keep our outreach going. And again, just maintain that involvement. I think, that's going to be the biggest thing, because like I said, we as organizations are not going away, and we're looking to the future, and we need highly technical, skilled, motivated individuals and young talent. And that's not just one particular plant in general, that's our industry as a whole. Yeah, this summer we had internships that basically got squashed because nobody was coming into the plants except plant employees, and the operations had to maintain, but the opportunities for internships just really slowed down if they happened at all. But that'll be back, and I want you all to just understand that nothing's going away. It's just kind of in an upset, and the state of the industry is, metal casting in the United States is here, and it's not going away, and we're going to be here for a long time, and we got to maintain our talent. We got to maintain our facilities with the key people to keep us growing and being successful. And that's all of you. That's everybody from a freshman to a graduating senior. Graduating seniors, the jobs may be a little bit slower, right now. It may not be your geographical area that you're looking at. When I went to school and was graduating, it was in the late 80s, and the farm crisis was going on. So, the agriculture foundries in the Midwest basically were slow. I was going to school with employees that were laid off from plants, and so there was an opportunity. So I knew that I was going to relocate to South Georgia or Portland, Oregon, wherever I could get a job in metal casting to get a start. And 10 years later, I moved back home to Iowa. And so it happens, and it might be the case this year. It might be, an opportunity arises for you where you end up going down the road, outside of the state of Iowa, and just be willing to take on those challenges and seize those opportunities, because you have opportunities to go full circle and get back around if there's an area of particular interest that you want to try to stay in, as far as where you live. So, my biggest message is, with the state of the industry, we are in a different time, if you will. I don't want to say uncertain time, because we know what we're doing as far as the business model. We just have to continue to get through this uncertain time with the pandemic and get our plants open back up and running back fully open. And that's happening, and it looks different, with the precautions we have to take, but our industry is not going away. And for the young professionals out there, continue to stay positive and focused on your careers and networking with people and keeping your chin up, because you'll land something. I guarantee you will. We need good, skilled people all over this country. And again, it starts with you students through the FEF programs that have experience, that are willing to do what we do in our industry and do it with a smile on your face. You know, it's fun stuff. You know, done it a long time. So anyway, I'm used up my time. I hope I didn't ramble too much, but good luck to all of you. You take care and stay positive. We'll win. Bye.